Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Q&A with Menaka about convergent facilitation regarding pesky stray cats in her community. Pesky and friendly. um, just to give a bit of an orientation of how we'll be holding this time, we've got an hour and a half together. So welcome. Please settle in, make yourselves comfortable in whatever way that works for you. We've got three main sections for this hour and a half today, three parts between the welcome and the closing. They're a short introduction that Menaka and I will do about why we're here. Then we'll do a bit of scene setting for what actually happened in the scenario in Menaka's housing community. To just really set the scene, I know some of you may have read the article, others may not have read all of it, so we'll try to just really paint the picture of it. And then the third part, and this is the one we want to dedicate most of the time today to, is questions from you. So that will be really the bulk of the time today. So those are our three sections today. First, a bit of an introduction, a bit about us, and then I'll give a little bit about the other folks from the Convergent Facilitation team that are here. And also, we're going to learn a little bit about you in this introduction. So first, Menaka and I will introduce ourselves and a bit about who we are and why we're here. Menaka, is it easier for me to go first if I'm already talking, or would? Excellent. And thank you, Fabienne, also for the note. This session is being recorded, so if you do have to drop off at any point or if there's anything you miss, that will be available to you afterwards. So a little introduction about me. I'm Julia. I'm based in Rome in Italy, and I've been on the Convergent Facilitation holding team for about a year. I come from a very different world of working with big companies, more recently trying to make them less evil. But I really found convergent facilitation as something that was really missing in my work. And so I've really been getting deeper into it and studying it. I've taken a lot of the courses. I think I may have seen some of you in some of the courses. And where I've been getting really curious is, how is convergent facilitation actually happening in the world? And so when I heard that Menaka was actually actively going through a process in her housing community to bring people together on a topic that is so tricky, which is what happens, what do we do when people disagree about stray cats and how to make decisions about that, I got really curious. So what we actually ended up doing is partnering together to write 2 articles, and I'll put them in the chat as well in case you haven't seen them. They're on the landing page as well. And in that process, I got to learn a lot from Menaka. And now we're partnering together to bring this to you in a more live way. So that's really why I'm here. I'm really curious about how convergent facilitation is happening in the real world, and connecting with you about what you might want to be learning about this and applying in your own lives. So that is a little bit about me. Menaka, do you want to give a bit of an introduction about you and what brings you and what energizes you here today?
Thanks, Julia. I noticed that I would like to say everything, and I want to have the humility that if I come with that energy, I won't be conveying a lot. So I'll just go with what is alive, and some things won't be said, and hopefully it will be useful in some way. So before I joined Nonviolent Global Liberation and the Convergent Facilitation ecosystem, I was working with an NGO in India. And something in me was like, why? Why would the people with power listen to the people who don't have structural power? I mean, it hasn't worked. There's something different that needs to happen. And of course, I didn't have sufficient access to vision. I didn't even know there's something like vision. Like thinking about what needs to happen when I say vision, like what's different. And then I found Mickey's videos on Mickey Kastan, who has also written the book Highest Common Denominator. And created the process of convergent facilitation with many other people inputting. When I heard what Miki had to say about polarization and integration, it just made like that was what I was looking for. And that's why I walked closer and closer towards convergent facilitation. And it's one thing to know about CF, convergent facilitation CF, and then applying it was totally different. Like the experience. And I don't know if you have read the article. There are two articles. One is about the process and one is more my internal journey. I was so surprised to have thoughts like, how about I just kill all the cats and then there will be there'll be no problem. And I could relate to people, like I could really, that brought me so much humility because I could step into the shoes of those who are having impacts or creating harm or whatever the things that we don't want in the world. It's so tragic why they may be choosing to do the things that they're doing. Because when we have also the leaders, like when we have so much responsibility and we take on leadership, we really want it to work. And those are some of the tragic ways that we know how to do it. So it brought me a lot of humility and a lot of learning. I mean, I'm still learning. This is what I want to say for now.
I love that. And we're here to learn together too. I think one of the intentions, joint intentions Menaka and I had going into this is to sort of remove the like having to be an expert and having all the answers here. And that's what I've just been really, I've learned so much from Menaka, partly about how she's held this process in her community, but also partly how constantly like things would go wrong and and there would be questions that would need to be explored together with others. So I'm actually really excited to be here with this broader community of all of you. So that's a little bit about us. We would love to learn a little bit about you. So for those of you who are online, if you are able to be on video, that's very supportive for us, just to see faces, if that's possible. So we welcome video and cameras on. We would also welcome, and for those of you who I can see on the video, we'd love to hear, just get a sense for your level of familiarity with convergent facilitation. And so I'll ask like a couple of options about where you are with that, and if you can just physically, like raise your hand or wave or something, that would be great, just to see where you are. And if you want to see the others and how they respond too, feel free to click in your view options. There's also a gallery view where you can switch between seeing just me and Menaka and seeing everyone. So if you switch to gallery and view, you can see the rest of the group. But in the rest of the group, if you are quite practiced in convergent facilitation and actually using it in your work or in your life or in your community, can you wave? Okay, I've got one wave, two waves. Okay, it's this, some of the usual suspects. Yep. If you know convergent facilitation, maybe I've even taken a class on convergent facilitation and know kind of the basics, the steps of it, but haven't yet practiced it. Can you wave? Okay, I've got another 1, 2, 3, 4, like half hands. If you've heard of convergent facilitation but haven't really gotten too far into it yet, can you do a little? There we go. I've got a few more. Nice. Yep. A little clap. Thank you for that. I love it. You can do it even without video. And if this is one of your first introductions to convergent facilitation. Okay. A few. Yeah. This is, thank you for that, by the way. And if it's helpful for you to go back to speaker view, feel free to do that as well. This is helpful, supportive for me and Menaka, just to know who we have with us here so that we don't get too deep into technicals if we know we have some folks who are just getting introduced to it. So we want to keep that in mind. Now, a few others on the team to introduce. You see in the names, there's a few folks doing tech support, both Sabina and Fabian. They're also going to be, if you have questions, I won't be keeping an eye on the chat, but there will be times to put your own questions in the chat, and throughout, if anything comes up, feel free to write in the chat there or directly to one of them. And really, yeah, the goal here is to make this really interactive and to meet Convergent Facilitation, to bring this case study closer and closer to you and where you are. So that will be, yeah, that's sort of the setting. So that's the first part, introduction, done. Menaka, anything else from a introduction that I'm missing?
I recall you wanted to introduce the team. So did you want to like just call out and have them wave? I don't know.
Oh yeah, the Convergent Facilitation team. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If the Convergent Facilitation team, can you all wave? There's a few hands. Yay! So that you know, there's actually quite a few people, and we're spread all over the world who are really holding and bringing Convergent Facilitation offerings like this to you. And at the end of this, we're going to give you a hint of a new offering that's actually coming up that we're very excited about. Thanks for that, Menaka. So let's dive in. All right, Menaka. So what I'd love to do in the second section of setting the scene for everyone, just to, before they jump in with their questions, like let's paint the picture of what you've gone through in the last, over a year now, right? That the process has been going on. And one way I thought that might be helpful to just give some of the basics, and like you said, we're not going to cover everything, and there's quite a bit in the articles that you wrote, is doing a bit of a before, during, and an after scene setting. So if we think about the before, I'd be so curious about how you even came to do a process of convergent facilitation in your community. Like maybe can you share a little bit about the context of your community, your role in it? I know you're a resident in it, but you're also a facilitator, and how it even came to be that this particular conflict was needing convergent facilitation.
I live in New Delhi, India, and I live in a group cooperative housing society where we are meant to make our decisions in a cooperative way. And of course, what's meant by that is held very differently by people. So we have a team of people who are in the managing committee, and all well-meaning, they would truly like to make decisions in a collaborative way. And very often what people understand by collaboration means, this is my idea, now you cooperate with me and go along with it. So I kept seeing this happening, and I know of convergent facilitation since 2021, and I was like, I really would like to facilitate, and I can see how I can support the community, but I didn't have sufficient confidence. So I did a lot of work with trauma and places where I'm stuck in and all that. And I also have a cat who lives with us in the house that I live in. So suddenly I was hearing that some people are thinking about poisoning the cat. And I was like, that's it. And that really, I stepped into it from a
Poisoning the
place of,
cat. Oh my God.
they were not going to do it. But so when we don't, that's also like, as a when we are facilitating, one thing to hold strongly is everything is information. So when there isn't an effective system for feedback and decision and conflict engagement, then this would be your conflict engagement system, where it could happen that the cats would be poisoned, and that has happened in the past. So that was one thing that pulled me. And then there were also a group of young children who were doing they were taking signatures and asking people to care for the cats like they care for the children and all of that. And that also motivated me quite a lot to step in. So this is how I just jumped into facilitation.
I love it. So the stars kind of aligned. Partly you were personally involved, but also you had these skills that you knew that you were going to potentially be able to bring. And wow, I didn't realize actually the part about poisoning that didn't come out in when we were writing the case study. So thanks for adding that in. That's actually quite dramatic, and that's a reason to. And so that was sort of what was happening in the community beforehand. And it's interesting that the community already had a sort of an intention to collaborate, but not really the practices yet to make decisions collaboratively. So when you stepped in to bring in the process of convergent facilitation, can you talk a little bit about that sort of that during part of it, of sort of how it began, which steps started first, how long did it take, how many people were involved at the different stages, just a little bit of the more of the like the evolution of the steps of convergent facilitation, which we know happen often very in a nonlinear way.
Yeah. I knew that this uh, thing about the tension between those caring for cats and those having impacts from cats was going on for, I think, 8 months before I stepped in. And I actively facilitated for around 3 months. So they were going to have a meeting, and I was just, before the meeting, I told them that I'm going to step in to facilitate. And they were like, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to hear what's important to everyone. And they said that we are actually just going to the meeting to say that none of us want to stay in the meeting. We are done with it. We are going to walk out. And so the first meeting lasted for an hour where everyone was there. And of course, it was really intense because there are there were like 20 people screaming at each other, literally screaming at each other. And yet I saw that they could sense that I'm doing something different. It's also cultural that in India we talk over each other and we all talk all at once. There isn't like, okay, you first and then I will speak, and we just speak all together. So for some time I wanted to find ways in which I can, so I tried to bring agreements to them that please let me interrupt you so that I can hear fully, and what else can I do? And I think Viren was having a course where we were practicing convergent facilitation, and in a breakout room where I told two people who were role playing that just speak over each other. And then I realized that I actually don't need them to do something different, because I sensed into what both of them wanted was the same thing. And I said, I see what both of you want is this. So that's one thing that really worked also in the community. Like, as while we're facilitating, especially convergent facilitation, it depends a lot on our capacity. And because people are already holding so much, like their considerations, and they come with so much mistrust that it will be held. So for them to do as little work and only as much as necessary. So that was one move that I learned. Yeah, I want to check with you, Julia. I've forgotten my train of thought.
No worries. That's actually really that's so powerful, and that's really helpful for me because I'm actually getting even more context than I had from documenting the case study with you about how you stepping in and offering to hear what was important to people. And I love that you didn't use the language of non-controversial essence. And Paul, just so you know, we're going to have in just a few minutes, we'll open it up to Q&A. But in the meantime, if you don't want to lose your question, feel free to write it down in the chat or for yourself, and then we'll jump in. Thank you.
I want to say that, I did use terminology and jargon. And I also got feedback that the people were like, we actually don't understand what you're saying. Please, can you use simpler words? So there's this layer of jargon, like convergent facilitation jargon, and then there is this other layer that's cultural. In India, we actually speak English differently. So they needed to cross two thresholds. One is that what English is she speaking, and what are these words? So everything was like feedback for me, and to make that simpler and I realized that they actually didn't even see the list of non-controversial essences or their considerations. It was I who was holding it for them the whole time. And I realized that they're like elderly people, or even the not so elderly, they're not so used to working on laptops. Like in NGL and CF, we're doing a lot of that. So asking them, pointing them to a document was too much. So in meetings, I needed to hold the considerations. And initially I was like, but isn't it that in the process, they need to see the considerations and they need to tell this and that? I was like, forget all that. It's not happening. Adapt to what's possible here.
I love this. And I love these many ways where you try to meet them where they are as much as possible. It's like, don't change how you're talking, like keep talking exactly the same way. I'm just going to capture something differently. And in the and actually I appreciate you, Paul, putting the question in the chat, because I did just see that come up, and actually it does feel like a good follow-up point. Which is, Minika, you said that you noticed, so I will pick it up here, and then we'll come back to broader questions from everyone else afterwards. But you said in that first meeting, as people were talking over each other, you noticed that there was something that they both wanted in common. And the question was, what was that?
It's really like when you go deep down, what they want is they really want to they want a sense that what they're saying is held, that their considerations matter to the whole group. And uh, I also realized now when I look back, what was missing is a channel for feedback to flow. So when that is missing, people usually express it in tragic ways. So I can't remember exactly what you're asking me, like what the exact consideration was, but something like this, like a more general, that um, supposing someone is screaming and saying that I don't want the cats to pee and poop in front of my house, and the other person is saying that I really want you to care about the cats and have compassion for the cats. What they really might want is uh, a way forward where the well-being of both cats and humans can be held, or something like that. So, like
Hmm.
just pointing them to actually what you all want is not in conflict.
Wow, that's a ninja move, Minika. I feel like that as a very newbie convergent facilitation practitioner, um, I feel like that probably takes a lot of practice. So I just want to pause with that and honor that you were able to hear what they were saying, but also go underneath it and recognize it and bring it back to them in a way that resonated. And maybe following on from that, still, we talked a little bit about the before, and now we're kind of in the during part. Another way I just heard you talk about how you came closer to where they were and really try to make them do as little effort outside of what they would normally do as possible, is you talked about that first step of capturing the common needs, what we would call the non-controversial essence. And then there's the second part of creating proposals. And what I found fascinating is in the proposals, like you kind of created them, or at least hypothesized what they could be. So can you tell a little bit more about, once you heard what was really important to people, how did that process go? Because that sounds like a lot of work for you to do, but it actually also sounds like it kind of came naturally as a way for you to keep momentum going where there was openings.
Yeah. A lot of the proposals, not a lot, some came from me hearing, because I live in the community. So I continuously interact with people, and they will say that this is what they want. They would like the shelter for the cats to be here or that. So I heard all of that as, okay, potential proposals. And I noticed that when I got them together for the proposal creation phase, which I was holding, and they were not even aware, I told them that we're going to speak about the proposals and see what works, what doesn't work. It is also my low capacity that many times the proposals were coming from me, because what I would like as a facilitator is to encourage or empower people to, for it to come from within them. So that's something, when I look back, I was like, okay, that's a mistake I made. And there were also times when people didn't want to come into the same room. So I would take a potential proposal and speak to someone on WhatsApp or call them, and they would say, okay, this doesn't work. So then I would try to sense into what is it that they would like. But I also saw it's also feedback about capacity, and because this work is so new and them not even having a context about CF, so like being stuck to you figure it out. This is what I need, and not having the capacity to think creatively. So that also led me to uh, suggesting to them, okay, so do you mean, would you like this? Would you like to try that? Would you like to try different things?
Yeah, it's interesting. What I'm sensing you doing is almost in like more nonviolent communication language, is almost like you would guess a need. You're almost also like guessing the proposal for them
Yeah,
and saying like, is this right? Is this about right? Could, what about it doesn't work?
yeah. And one time, I don't know if this is related to what I was saying, but it came to my mind and I'll share it. One time when I was chatting with someone on WhatsApp and bringing a potential proposal, and even though I checked with him that if you have an objection or if it doesn't work, let me know. But it still went into, you people think blah, 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 this, that. And it sounded to me like he's yelling at me. And he was like, this is your solution. This is what you think is going to work. And luckily, it was on WhatsApp. So I took a moment. It felt really vulnerable. So I cried a bit and all that. And then something in me flipped or untwisted because of having the process of CF and the commitment to hear everything as feedback. I was like, it just means that this proposal doesn't work for him. But what I want to say about this is the process really like uh, supported me to bring myself back in moments when I don't know what to do. I'm lost. I was like, come back to the process, sense what is important, what could be the need, what suggest something else, say I'll bring it back, and sensing into openings that is in the proposal creation phase, all of that. The process really supported me a lot in the times where I could remember it and go with it.
Oof. I'm just appreciating how you took the intensity of what was coming back to you and came back to be like, oh yeah, feedback is a gift. I know that the book says that and the teaching says that, but to actually practice it.
Yeah, and fun fact, it's really tragic because the human who was speaking to me in my colony, he's the evil man. So I was really sad. Like I could really sense that the moment I connected with him and said, okay, I see that the solution doesn't work for you. Even in WhatsApp, I could sense that his whole tone changed. And the way he was talking to me, and he was like, yeah, I see. And in the end, he was like, you have my blessings because I see you will bring justice to all. So I'm just, I'm saying this because I have so much gratitude for the process and the potential of CF.
Oof. Yeah, I'm just pausing with that. There's, if anyone hasn't read the article, by the way, in it are some beautiful quotes from the different residents in Menaka's community about the process, about how it was for them. I mean, some of them like brought me to tears to hear this from people who've, you know, never really experienced potentially facilitation or this type of collaboration. There's one quote in there, for example, that just really stands out to me is this one person says, "We thought the cat menace was a constant and we would have to live with it in the colony. Your effort has been a breath of fresh air. It makes me wonder if the cats are lucky or we are. And then I think both are lucky."
Mm.
And so that's what also makes me think, Minika, of how just you bringing this very imperfectly to this community, the effect that it's had just in creating this sort of space, not just for them to be listened to, but to actually have their needs held, met, and solutions created together with them.
Yeah, you bet, very imperfectly. And I want to emphasize on that because it had been stopping me from sharing the gifts. Like for almost 5 years, I didn't facilitate. And then now when I look back, I'm like, what is perfect? And when am I going to be fully ready? And for people, like what I also want to share that what we are bringing to the world is already a lot more radical and different. So even the tiny bit is like really supporting them.
Hmm.
I'm saying this to encourage more and more people to risk and create impact, learn, experiment. I'm still scared to step into it again. To say that.
I can so relate. Um, I'm curious, we talked a little bit about the before, a little bit about the during. Where is it at now? What's the current situation of cats in your community and just the community in general, how they're approaching working together?
I think even now I have nightmares that uh, something will happen and tomorrow morning I'll wake up and everybody will be like, where is Menaka? We want to just, what has she done? Nothing has changed. Because actually, about the situation, nothing has changed. The cats are still doing what they do, and the humans are still having impacts. I think what is more held is the impacts. That the impacts will happen. We can't make it go away. Or one of the ways to make it go away is actually to get the municipality to do away with the cats, and then there will be new cats, and then you keep doing away with that, which is a reflection of capacity. There's not enough capacity to care for the cats, and then you mourn it. So what has shifted is people realize that I also told them that I'm not a politician who's going to come and promise you that, the cats are going to stop pooping in front of your house, because that's not possible. Or this is not going to happen. And we also want to see what is the capacity to care for the impact. So initially, I was actually uh, supporting people with cleaning their doormats or disinfecting the premise. And then last month, I felt really ill and I had a lot to do, and I was like really not having the energy. And there was, out of like, I think 6 or 7 people having impacts, most of them are now caring for the impacts themselves. And there was one person who still wanted support from me. He's the one who said the quote about the cats are lucky or us. So I spoke with him and we spoke about my capacity. And then his daughter also like scolded him that why does she need to come and clean the cat shit in front of our house? Why can't you all do it? So anyway, I realized that what it gave him a sense of, he told me like he felt that they are not alone. There's someone there to hear them. So usually this is where the conflict happens, because we don't have the capacity to hear complaints as information. And so there's no way for that to flow. And it gets stuck and it comes out in tragic ways. But when it's heard, most of what I did is hearing what was important for them. And also showing them the real picture. This is where we are at. We don't have the capacity more than what is there.
Yeah, and what I love in what you shared about that is you've given them a way to not feel alone, a way to share the impacts, the concerns, the worries. And what I find really interesting, and I wonder if you want to add any more about this too, is that you don't have to be the one channel for all of their concerns and impacts and all of that, because that's actually a lot on one person.
Yes. So there is an intention. I mean, the people in the managing committee and also the residents have sufficient trust, and like I would like to create a feedback flow system, and I also want to care for, like, that's what I would like to do. Mm, but there is little bit of fatigue because when I was holding the process, there was so much I was doing. It didn't increase the capacity of the community to hold the pieces with me. Although they do want to create that system of feedback flow because they have trust in what I'm saying. And yet, just with the memory of that, I'm like, oh, I can't do this. Everything will be on me. I'll be scheduling the meetings, pulling people. And there's a lot of work that we do online also. So it's just there right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I love that you named in here in your like yearning for, and I know in the case study was named too, is that like what this conflict and taking people through the steps of the conflict brought up was sort of the lack and the need for a lot of these systems in the community that just didn't exist. One was around sharing and receiving and integrating feedback. Another one was around how to deal with conflict and for people to, if two neighbors were next to each other and their cat went over to their house, what to do. And it sounds like some of those systems you did make some movement around, and others are still obviously to make them from scratch takes time and
Yeah,
effort.
I would say that they got a sense of the systems, yet the systems are not in place. So if I'm not holding them, it's not there. They go back to their habitual ways of being.
Yeah. Yeah. And in a way, I guess part of why I was bringing that up is both the strengths and the limitations of convergent facilitation, right? It's really helpful for a decision to be made in a moment, but it can also bring up all these other bigger things that are missing. And in a way, lucky for them, but also maybe unlucky, right? That it all falls on one person, that they have someone like you who knows all these other ways to, um,
Somewhat knows
yeah,
all these other
knows of.
knows of, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm aware we've painted a bit of the picture, and I'd love to. I know there's some questions coming through the chat already, and I imagine there's questions in the group, and I would just be so curious to hear um, how this is landing with everyone and what curiosities are coming up for you, especially as it relates to your life and how you may want to practice convergent facilitation in your life. And before we move to that, Minika, anything else that you just want to say on this part?
I want to say, I remember, Julia, you inviting me to be vulnerable. So I want to say that when we were opening the Q&A, I was thinking, I was feeling nervous and I sensed a bit into what that is. So I want to say what I connected with is there are no right answers because that can make me really nervous. So I want to hear what the curiosity or the questions, and let's see what comes up in me to engage with you,
Hmm.
because I don't want to pretend that I know, and that creates a lot of stress that I need to give the right answer.
Oh, I love that. That's such a good way to set the tone for this Q&A section. And as a way to step into this Q&A section, just an invitation for everyone here. There's two different ways, actually really three different ways. I know Sabina put something in the chat about this, is we'll have an option to raise the electronic hand. There's also the chat, which I saw some questions come through in there. Or you can write specifically to Sabina if you're not able to raise your electronic hand, and she can help you do that. So maybe we'll alternate a bit between live questions and questions in the chat. So I see a few hands up already. Good, we've got 3 hands up already. 4, wow, okay, that's a lot. Before we go to the hands, Sabina, just to check in with you, if you've seen the questions coming through the chat, is there anything that feels urgent for us to address before we kind of open up to the bigger set of questions? Like, are there, kind of maybe specific follow-ups or anything like that?
None that I've seen.
Okay, thank you. And I think one thing we were going to do at this point, I don't know if we've done it yet. Oh, I think you have already. You've taken off the spotlighting, right? So we can see everybody now. Thank you. All right, Varen, I see a question from you.
Yeah, it's actually not a question. It's just a few comments, which to support the space, I hope. First of all, I have immense gratitude for this Q&A to happen. And the reason is to show that CF can be practiced by somebody who's not like the perfect facilitator with huge amount of integration. I mean, Menaka, I think you have far more skills and integration of it that I think you are giving yourself credit for. So first of all, that you tried and you applied and learned is fantastic. It's a fantastic role modeling. For everyone who's interested in CF to just go and try. Second one is the fact that it's happening within a non-global North context, i.e. in the global South, in a completely different culture than where CF has been significantly applied in so far. It's hugely significant. Like what you're saying about the different, the adaptations, the language, the ways, it's so great to show that CF is flexible. And that what's important are the principles, which is what Mickey always advocates for. Don't follow the form, follow the principles. And what you've done seems to demonstrate that beautifully. So I'm so grateful that that you've done the work and that Julia, you supported documenting it. And now we have you live to interact. So this first thing. Second thing, if there's any question that you're not comfortable answering between the two of you, you can flow them our way, Fabian, Sabina's. There's a whole CF holding team here that could possibly give answers. The third thing I want to say, I was really impressed to hear that that it wasn't like there was a concrete outcome in relation to the cats themselves, but that that you shifted the relationship that people have with the problem and with the impact. Amazing. And the fourth and last one, is that CF is not a replacement for a decision-making system, nor for other systems like how to deal with difficult impacts within the community, whatever. It's only a tool for one decision or several decisions, but actually to change. And you said it very beautifully, and I think it's important not to conflate CF as a decision-making system. And Menaka, as you said, you've not had the capacity to help the community to set up a whole system to make decisions differently. You just modeled with CF how one decision could be made in a more collaborative way. And when the capacity is there in your community, maybe systems will be implemented and constructed and will lead to a more systemic change. Thank you very much. That's all I wanted to say, and there was no question in it. Just really deep appreciation.
That feels very validating to have that mirrored back. Menaka, how's that feeling for you?
I could recognize myself in all that Viren said. I really appreciate how she framed it, because it's nice to hear it as a reflection. Also, like what people are taking back from what I'm saying. And I had requested Viren to support me. If I cannot answer any questions, will you be there? And all of that. And then I forgot to follow it up with her. So I was a bit nervous to just say it today. So I'm glad you said that. And we also have Sabina and Fabian and Pierre and you. Yeah, I'm thrilled.
Love that. Okay, let's see. Natalie, I see you next.
Hello, hi Menaka. So first of all, congratulations. This sounds like an amazing, amazing process and opportunity. I had a question about entry into the space, into the dialogue that you held. And I may have some deepening question after you answer. So I'm just wondering if you can go a little bit in more detail about the context that enabled you to be able to say, I want to hold it. or I want to facilitate. On my street, on my little community, we are managed by a board that is constituted by the residents. And so imagining myself stepping into a conflict when there's an existing structure feels like already a power struggle as it is. So I'm wondering, this initial dialogue, was it already, that first meeting, had it already been, was there already a date and you said, I'll facilitate, or did you propose even to facilitate something that hadn't even been set up? Or was there a lead person that was kind of organizing this thing, and what enabled the person to shift into trusting you? Because that's huge, that this relinquishing of the facilitation, which is also often confused with like leadership and directing, and so all the assumptions that we have about facilitators. So I know you said that when they asked you what you would do, you said that you would hear what is important to everybody, but I just wanted to hear a little bit more about kind of the structural context that enabled you to step into, or the structure of the dialogue or the community that enabled you to step in.
Um, I think now when I look back, I can see why it was possible and even welcome. Then I just took a risk. Like people were going into the meeting, the date was already fixed. I said, I'll come and attend, because they kept saying that you have a cat who comes and lives with you. Why aren't you coming? So the people who are caring for the cats thought that I'm coming as representing that side. It's the polarization inside. And so when I met them that morning and I said that I'll step in to facilitate, and they asked, what will you do? They thought that I'm going to be stepping in to facilitate and advocate for the needs of this side. And I think why it worked for the managing committee is because now when I look back, I realize even though they had someone facilitating, in most cases, it's not how we look at facilitating. There's someone just speaking and saying, okay, now let's hear everyone, and everyone starts speaking. And I'm just giving you a picture of how the meetings were happening. Okay, please keep quiet. We want to listen to the other person. No, don't say this. You think you're saying this. You're better. Shut up. You're bad. Get out. All that happening. So actually, there was no facility. I think what they recognize is someone is, what I meant by facilitating is actually holding the space. And I made a lot of unilateral decisions. So to have that power within me to say, to have that clarity and say, okay, now this is what we are going to do. Let's do this. Let's try this for some time. When some proposal isn't working and we are stuck, let's give it 2 weeks. If it doesn't work, can we come back to it? So they just saw that. I also got feedback from some people that we can see what you're doing, even though they couldn't name it. But one person told me that I can see what you're doing. The same person who had told me in the starting of the process that it's unbalanced. You're taking their side, not holding our considerations. This is when I thought that if I just prioritize the needs of the more powerful people, this whole issue will be taken care of. So I think it just, this is how I stepped in, and this is, people had like a sense that, and it was also a relief for the managing committee. I imagine for them, they were like, is she stupid? Why does she want to do this? Someone else is doing our job. Let her do it.
So if I can reflect, I think there were two obstacles that you had to overcome. One is that you were seen to be from the opposite side. And then the other one is that in general, there isn't quite a distinguished role for facilitation. So the managing committee wasn't a sense that they were just going to let people yell. So it might have been a relief for them.
Yeah.
And then you being able to stay in that role was because they were seeing the added value that you were bringing in just the question, even if people still talking about each other, they were clearly noticing the added value and the quality of the dialogue. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks, Menaka.
Oh, and thanks, Natalie, for playing that back. And did you say there was a follow-up piece?
No, that makes sense. I think that's enough for now.
Okay.
It was clear enough. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve, I see a hand from you.
Yeah. Thanks, Malika. And thanks for bringing this to us and sharing. I'm just curious as to, you mentioned in one of the breakout rooms that someone was using sort of convergent facilitation, CF. Were you aware of it before then? Had you had any training in it? And I'm just, you know, what sort of aimed you towards using it? Thanks.
Yes, I think I wasn't clear. The breakout room was during a course that Viren was offering to practice convergent facilitation. And to answer your other question, training in the way that I was part of the admin of the CF ecosystem for a long time, and I've attended a lot of courses, seen a lot of videos, read the book, done like informal facilitation at home very badly. But this was my experience. Does that answer even a little bit what you asked
Yes,
me?
thank you.
What I love about that, Menaka, is it's also back to what Varen was saying about just like the imperfectness of this, right? And that's why we're doing this Q&A here. This is just one way of getting curious about convergent facilitation as one tool of many, and trying it, bringing it, failing, adjusting. So thanks for that, Steve. I appreciate the question. Jen.
Well, yeah, thank you so much. It's amazing to be here. My little darling heart's going a bit fast, so I'm just saying hello to that part. So I'm just wanting to pick up on some of your language, actually, because I just feel like I want to amplify some of the things that I feel like you're saying that kind of I'm also doing. I wouldn't probably call it convergent facilitation, but I guess I just want to kind of give value to some of the subtleties, if I may. I love that you're talking about something in me. You know, the different parts within us. And I love that it's such an embodied approach that you're talking about, if I may say, you know, if it's all right for me to say, I don't mean to be telling you what you're doing, but that's what I'm hearing. You know, you talked about something, the WhatsApp thread, and then you sat with something inside you that was sort of twisting. And I just really would love to value what you're doing there, you know, that incredible, you're pausing, aren't you? This is presence we're talking about, isn't it, as well? We're pausing for presence. We're with the body. We're noticing these tiny movements within ourselves. So it's a way to be with, isn't it? To be with the parts within ourselves, and at the same time to have a wider view. And so I can only imagine that people, when they saw you in this, they could kind of sense, as you said, they could sense something was going on. They might not have been able to say what it was, but my sense is they could feel that presence. You were able to be with parts of yourself. You weren't sort of pushing them out. You were going, ah, yes, I see you. And you said something about everything is information. I love that. I mean, intuitively, that's what I'm doing all the time as well. Not only from outside, but inside. The community inside, the community outside. So then when we do that, it means that nothing is kind of is useless, you could say. Do you know what I mean? Everything is gold. It's all bringing up the process together, isn't it? Parts of ourselves, inside, outside ourselves. And I don't know, I guess I'm like massively inspired at I know the convergence of what you're calling convergent facilitation. We can also maybe call, my friends calling, embodied relational presence. You know, we feel in our bodies, in relationship, that is what it is to be in presence. So I guess I'm just sort of really celebrating that the humans across the planet are coming up with similar similar techniques. I don't want to really call them techniques, but you know, like the honoring, the humility you also talk about, you know. So this sort of honoring, humility, everything is information. We don't need to sideline anything because we're just in this universe together. Everything can help us. It's all gold. And how embodied it is and how relational it is. And I also would just like to really thank you for the application. Do you know what I mean? I mean, talk about like, you know, cat shit. I mean, it's fantastic, isn't it, to bring us down. And so this isn't being heady. We're not going up, we're coming right down into something very practical. You know what I mean? So I really thank you so much for like amplifying. Do you know what I mean? What we could just kind of narrowly kind of go, oh, that was just that over there. Let's amplify. I love it. So I hope you can hear my appreciation, desire to, I don't know, connect the practices of the world that are bringing us towards peace, freedom. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks. I want us to take a moment to just soak in everything you said. It's what you named is my bodily embodied experience. And I used to wonder, why is TF so challenging? Why aren't more people doing this? And the more I was facilitating, the more I realized it's a deep, deep, deep invitation, if you would like, if while facilitating or while facilitating any process, to actually embrace nonviolence, to live it moment by moment and moment by moment. So like what you said, everything is information. Where is the work that needs to be done? What do I need to do with this information? Is it inside me? Is it out? Is it somewhere together with someone? And we are restoring trust and those relational fields, togetherness, actual togetherness, choice, all of that. Yeah, it's really beautiful how, like, the things that you need. Thank you.
And I want to recognize, Menaka, what you just did there, reflecting Jen's observation about presence and pausing and how you brought us all into a pause and presence. And I'm just taking that myself as well. And yeah, inviting the group also to you know, talking about that like embodied, what did Jen call it? Embodied, what did you call it, Jen?
Embodied relational presence.
Embodied relational presence. Thank you. I might borrow that.
Simon McKibben, yeah, is the first
Yeah.
person who came up with that term.
Thank you. Yeah, so inviting a bit of that embodied relational presence now as we move into our last half hour here with Menaka about what might be coming through you right now, and especially inviting anyone who doesn't normally ask questions, and if it doesn't feel comfortable on video, to just welcome a moment to put that in the chat. Before we go to those who have their hands up, and I'm just checking in the chat. Oh, and Steve, I see a message from you as well. Okay, yep. We'll follow up on that later. Okay, I see a few more hands up. Katerina.
Katerina, you're muted.
Hello. I'm so excited to hear you speak about it like live in a Q&A. And the part that Vren said about, you know, someone who's not like super trained in it, like practicing it in a super imperfect way, I find has given me like a lot of inspiration. And I was following like your thread on it on the CF forum for quite some time.
Following and supporting.
Yes, I'm glad it was received that way, and also, yeah, just noticing that I just like so inspired and also so terrified hearing you talk about it. And I guess the biggest learning, or there's been so many learnings, and I also appreciate you choosing like not to share like everything, but just the bits that you have shared. But one of the big learnings for me has been around like the non-linearity of the process, because when I took a CF course, I was very much thinking like, oh, okay, it's in like these 3 steps, and then it usually goes that way. And what I'm hearing from you is that it's like not at all necessarily and probably even likely not going to be like in those steps. And you are kind of just navigating like where you see openings and applying principles rather than a specific linear process. And I guess I'm curious, I don't know, there's like a million things I could ask you, but I'm curious, what is sort of like, would you say like the biggest thing that you're proud of, or the biggest change that you've noticed in yourself from doing this process? There's probably quite a few, but if you could pick one, what would it be?
I want to say 2 things before I say this. One is being terrified is information, like what needs to happen. I did a lot of work with trauma and all of that because there's something there. So to unpack that. And I'm not going to say, don't be terrified. It's okay. I'm still terrified. And the second one was the linearity. Try being linear. People will not let you, even if you want to. They will tell you what they want you, where they want you to go. And actually, that's a strength while facilitating, to actually sense into where. Have a plan, but keep it loose. So they will tell you, and then be flexible to shift. And what you asked, I think I'll tell you. I might use some jargon words if it's not clear. Katerina, now you are also in NGL, so you may not be able to recognize it, but maybe some people who are not familiar with NGL jargon, you tell me if it's not clear. After doing facilitating CF, I realized I could recognize flows. So flow is the jargon. I don't know how to say it in different words. Maybe I'll say it and maybe Viren or someone can help. Like I could recognize that there's a void or a lack of feedback to be able to flow from where it is to where it's needed to flow. So recognizing flows. We are so used to, we all live in flows. So even not having a feedback channel is flow, but it can be seen as a flow that's not serving life in a way that can bring us more together or to collaborate. Does that make sense? I don't know now. Suddenly it sounds like I'm just using some words.
Yeah, I got from what you said, just being able to sense into where like there's information somewhere and it's not reaching another place, or vice versa. Like you're seeing where there's sort of like a gap in where the information is not flowing to somewhere else. Is that right?
Yeah, so thanks for reflecting. I realized I wasn't clear. That's an example. What I mean is recognize flow and where it's interrupted. I'm more able to do that. Maybe Viren or someone can say it in different words or give it more. If you have a sense of what I'm trying to say.
I think what you're saying, Menaka, is that the practice of CF and your experience of being part of the community of the nonviolent global liberation, because I think the two are really connected for you. We've given you more capacity to track, in this case, how information is going from one place to the other, and the helpful information is actually flowing from where it originates to where it needs to go for people to take in what is happening. But you also can track when that information is not getting from where it is to where it needs to be, to mitigate impacts, to make decisions, to change a situation. Did I get that correctly?
Yes, that's the example. The larger piece that I'm saying is life is arranged in a way, how I see it, is that things are flowing, and there could be blocks in the system. It's there all around. Like if we are the ecosystem, if there's a drain pipe and there's a block, then the water will not flow, it leaks, and it can have impacts. And then if you can recognize that this is the flow and it's disrupted, then you can do something about it. So it's not only information, it could be resource, information, different flows.
I have a question, Menaka, because I heard something about energy. Maybe I didn't get it. That when suddenly the feedback was flowing, meaning it was expressed and received, this was a highlight. Did I get that part as well, or did I?
Yes. Yes. You may. Let me see if I understood what you're pointing to. That when I started hearing the information, I could see what the information is and flow it to where it's needed. And then people were more able to hear it. Is it?
Yeah, so you saw it was expressed and received both. That's energy that is creating mutual understanding. And that is sweet. I mean, it's sweet when we do it in coaching. I think I can imagine that this is also sweet where you did it.
Yeah, and Volkmar, I saw you had your hand up, but first, Katerina, I just want to check, did you feel like you've got your question was addressed?
Question is,
yeah.
One moment.
Thank you, Katerina. Yes.
One moment. I want to say one experience related to what you said, Volkmar. There was one person having impacts, and again, she was seen as women are more likely to be seen hysterical. She has lost it. She's always complaining and making a big deal about everything. So she had an impact, and immediately the managing committee said, "Will you go and speak with her? All hell has broken loose. It's doomsday." I was really nervous, and I went and spoke with her. And the thing that she told me later is, when you entered, even before you started speaking, I energetically felt relaxed to be in your presence. And she said, no one has heard me the way I've been heard by you. Okay, now for your question.
Wow.
Katarina, it's.
I think Katerina is complete. Go ahead, Volkmar.
Thank you. Because my question links to that actually, because what you said, Menaka, was what I heard is it wasn't perfect, the solution. It seems like it's still not, many people are not satisfied with it, but still it has changed something. And I think the something that has changed, in my interpretation as I listen to you, is that there was mutual understanding created, mutual compassionate understanding, as I call it. And that can go away again. So in order to keep it alive, we then maybe you might need another union, or feedback flow needs to be established, because it can become more conflictual than people can hold it then again. Is that kind of?
Yes, exactly what you're saying. That's what I said is my nightmare, that I'll wake up and everyone will be like fully impacted and fighting again. It can so easily go away.
Yes.
Because when there isn't someone holding
it. How can we hold it, keep it alive, this mutual understanding?
Yeah, I think that's why systems are important. like systems for decision making, for conflict engagement, for feedback flow, resource flow, and information flow. Those are the 5 systems that I know of.
Yeah, how to do that in practice in this community then. Yeah, thank you.
Such
You
a
come and
powerful
do it.
question. And I thought I saw Varen. Did I see you maybe wanting to jump in on this one? No. Okay. All right. I see we have 2 more questions. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Menaka.
I was joking and telling Folkmar, you come and do it since you have
Yeah.
like you're sensing the need.
Exactly. Maybe Volkmar, next time we can do a Q&A with you. Let us know how it goes.
No, come and set up the systems in the colony I live in.
Yeah. Oh yeah, come to New Delhi.
I don't think I would be so effective as you are because I'm from a different culture. I think, well, I don't know.
Yeah, there are layers and layers. I don't know if I was effective. There are layers and layers. There could be one thing that people would be more intimidated because you're white and we have a culture of like, oh, they know everything.
Exactly.
So they may take you more seriously, and there could be a different impacts. I don't know.
I'm just aware of where we are in our time. I see we have 2 more questions. I may go to Fabian first, since we've heard from Natalie, and then come back to you, Natalie, since we haven't heard Fabian's voice yet.
Hey, I'm curious around your faith in your own, and maybe I've missed it, it was said, so I'm happy to hear that as well. But yeah, your sort of your own sense of faith in your capacity to integrate throughout the process of like were there ups and downs, and also, I mean, it was a huge group of people and like then such a polarized piece. So I wonder also before you went in if you had a sense of like the actual essences that were there because people came to you complaining beforehand, so you already knew like what was there, and that sort of like created the faith in you. Like some time ago, I think it was 1 year or so, it's like Honey said, like, yeah, I would only want to go and facilitate if I actually have that faith in me, and if I don't, then I don't do it. Like if I don't even have the faith. So I'm curious how that was.
I think I thought intellectually I had faith, and when I was doing it, there were times when I was like, this is not happening. We can never converge. There is no solution. How? And at times when I could guess what's important and people said yes, that gave me a lived sense of what that faith means. And even now, because I'm so inexperienced, I have to keep reminding myself and bringing myself to that experience in my body that this is possible, because it is so, and we are so, just because I'm facilitating that doesn't mean I'm liberated and now I don't have my patterns. I still have my patterns, that strategies. I want the cats, to feed them in this area, let them live free and compassion and all. It's really hard. We keep going back and you keep bringing yourself back and you keep bringing yourself back till that becomes, I don't know when that will become how I live. Does this answer, Fabian, what you're saying?
Yeah, I appreciate the principle of like I'm sort of being re-energized or increasing the faith from a yes, so that as a guiding principles, if I have reduced faith, I might look or like connect with a person where I sense there might be an NCE living that is easier for me to access, and that kind of like increasing both faith within me, but also within the group, to then move.
There's one more thing that I did, that sometimes when there was a huge challenge, I would just imagine what could be a possibility or what could be an opening, and then I had something to lean on, not attached to it, but something to lean on. Okay, some possibility. Otherwise, I can go with like a stuck energy, and I did go in with a stuck energy, and it did have impacts on people where I myself don't have faith, and I'm like internally, I'm like, what am I doing? But then also what I did is, even when I messed up, I would go back, think about it, go home, practice with Pierre and Katharina and everyone, and go back and say that, okay, it wasn't accurate. I'm sensing there's another layer. Is this what you want? Like going back to people.
Nice. Thank you.
That's so helpful. And I I think we can take one more question. So Natalie, I see your hand here, and then I do want to just, after your question, leave a pause because Minika and I made an agreement before this that I think we're both the kind that like it takes us a while for things to settle in. And so there might be a little bit more that want to be shared from Minika before we also have a few more things we want to do in closing. So Natalie, one more question from you.
Yeah, thank you. And my question is specifically to you as facilitating as a resident, as being an insider to the conflict as opposed to an outsider. And so my question is around your voice in your position about the issues, your facilitation role, and then holding the whole. And so I'm wondering, within the conversation, did you bring your voice as, hey, I want the cats to live free? Or when you brought your voice, were you already translating as an NCE your position? Or were you not at all bringing in your position? And then how often did you feel like you were yourself included in your own process? So I'm just kind of questioning, the question is how you were holding these various hats around expressing yourself as a resident and then being in the facilitation role. And then I think attached to that is if everybody's speaking together, you weren't obviously doing rounds, right? So were you just tracking who had not, okay, so that answers the second part. So maybe just a question on how you were bringing in your voice and if you were already translating it or just saying your position as Menaka, as a resident would speak it, or how you were doing that.
Yeah, very good question, because I was thinking about it as you were checking with me. I think I'm so inexperienced that I'm unable to switch between, okay, now I'm facilitating and now I'm holding my consideration. And because also this was the first time that I was facilitating in such a large group. And like I said, we had like 3 whole group meetings. In the first meeting, I was just taking the side of the people with, no, I was just entering into what's important. Then I was taking the side of people who have more power. Then I was taking the side of people who have less perceived power. It was just like it wasn't clear that am I holding my considerations, and it was simpler for me to look at it as this is a group and I'm facilitating for them. It was too complex for me to say, okay, I'm living in it. When I had those times, my partner also was really supporting. Ask him about the impacts I had on him. I would scream at him because he was representing the voice of the people advocating for the cats. So he faced most of it, like to hold my considerations and to not see anybody as wrong and all of that. But then that helped me to actually, I don't even know if I was fully able to do it. What I really wanted to do is advocate for everyone's needs. And I think I also realized that my considerations are held.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to answer your question, this is now I can as you're asking me, I'm thinking that while facilitating, we can recognize, okay, this person is holding my consideration, that person is holding my consideration. And sometimes in a very messy way, I did do it. I did say what I think without telling them that, okay, now I'm not facilitating, this is me.
Thank you.
Like using my power as a facilitator in not an effective way.
Thanks, Menaka.
Such a powerful question, Natalie. That was one I was holding too, so I'm really glad you asked it. As we head into closing, there's 2 things I want to do in the closing. One is, Menaka, I just want to open up some space for you, if anything that's feeling unsaid or anything that we haven't had a chance to cover that feels important.
I want to appreciate you, Julia, because she was having so many calls with me for documenting and 2 calls for prep, which I was feeling very annoyed with because I have so low capacity. And I was like, oh my God, now I'm feeling nervous. But I can see how that we spoke about purpose and what we want to do. And I think that just your presence I was looking at you at times and it was grounding because we have this thread that we are holding. And it felt like the Q&A seemed more, I can see humans on the screen and not like some people asking me questions. So I really appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. And not only humans, I've been really grounded by looking at Aurora's dog. Thank you for saying that, Menaka. That's really sweet. And as we're closing, we'd love to open it back up to the group, actually, and hear from you. I know this is a lot, and as Menaka shared, this is definitely not everything. There's a lot more in the articles we put in the chat. But what is one thing that is really staying with you from today? So feel free to raise your hand and share something that stays. And as you think about it, I may actually share mine, Menaka. I know you just shared your gratitude, but something that really stays with me is I don't think I really had faith about something like this being able to come to a community that we live in. Like I'm very much in a place of like as an American as well, like there's so much polarization. I feel very powerless about decisions that are being made on my behalf in all of these ways. And I keep coming back to, I was like, oh, community is where I can really impact it, but can I really? And I think I'm really taking away like the power of bringing a community together in a very messy, imperfect way. You really embodied that. So thank you. That's my share. Aurora and gorgeous dog.
His name is Rio. I have just one request before, and it's I joined a few minutes later, so I don't see in the chat any documents. So if you can repost it, would be lovely. And then just wanted to share deep appreciation to both of you and everyone holding this space. It has been really supportive. And the other thing that I wanted to mention, it was kind of bothering me at some point. They keep calling it imperfect, when for me it has been just perfect. And it's kind of like reinforcing that we are not doing it well, and I think we are doing it. And what I appreciate is the courage of doing it. Thank you for that.
I like it. Messiness is the new perfect.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Aurora. Natalie.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hello. So thank you, Menaka, Julia, and the rest of the team and anyone who's been co-holding this. I feel really grateful for what I learned today. And I think what I'm holding is that, again, that it doesn't have to be perfect. I am working with a group of we're aiming to move the group towards a corporate model of working together and making decisions together. And it's been challenging just based on the culture that's already there, the power over culture. And so being able to hold the intention of everyone's needs being met feels like the what I can lean on as I support them in moving towards this. And the fact that there are notes, there is information, there is a model that I can also use to structure the conversations feels really, really supportive. So thank you all for the work that you've been doing.
Nice. To also hold the needs of the ones who are in the position of power over, included in the whole. And I also, not joking, but not being perfect is also subverting something that we have been trained to do, like to be perfect, to be a professional. And that really loses the essence. Like if I just want, I was thinking that I don't know how I would be present on this call if I had wanted to be perfect. I mean, I would have been, but it would have been really hard. I've done it all my life, but I was just thinking about it.
I love it. And there's, by the way, some good takeaways being put in the chat as well that people are taking with them. Cassidy.
Hi, I am just so touched by so much that I've heard. And I think I'm really taking away like the beauty of the courage to just step into it. Like you see a problem, it's been going on for a long time. And so just the courage to step in and try, it's like bringing me courage, and just the support that you had behind the scenes, I think is super awesome as well. Like that you could go back to your core group and say, hey, this didn't work super well. How could we try that again? And that you went back and almost like did a repair and got a different layer. So yeah, just so much gratitude. Thank you.
I'm really glad you're pointing to that, because we didn't speak about it a lot. It's there, I think, in the article. At least when I'm facilitating CF, or like, you need a team to support you. It's a lot to do it alone. Please get the support you need. And there is a CF ecosystem. There are people who are willing to practice. So it's also like, you know, mutual and co-holding.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
Thank you, Cassidy. Okay, what else is staying with you? We'll go Volkmar, Sabina, and Jen. Ida and Volkmar.
No, that's Ida.
Actually, Ida.
Ida.
It's been said before. I just want to say it in my words that Menaka, the encouragement to go out and do something, even though we're not skilled facilitators, or we're not even so educated, but get information along the way from your support group and from studying. That is really encouraging. So that's what I take with me. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Ida. I know, yeah, it's been said a lot, and I'm glad that that's one of the main things that people are taking away.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ida. All right, Sabina, Jen, and then we'll close to honor everyone's time.
Thank you. Yeah, just very briefly to say the importance of outliers, really loving, giving real attention and welcoming the input of someone who you even, I think, used the word evil, like that's how he's held in that community.
Yeah.
And so the power of you listening to him and taking him seriously must have been really powerful for him, for his daughter, and for the whole community. So really, really celebrating that, because so often, yeah, people get very stuck in those roles, and everyone tries to reinforce that that role. It's like it makes the rest of us feel better if we can make somebody else evil, right? So really, really celebrating that bit, and just also recognizing that whatever you've done will have sent different ripples out into the world. Yeah.
Thanks, Sabina.
Absolutely.
Thanks for pointing to that. Yes, exactly what you said. And now I see that one of the things that CF has potential to do is rehumanize, because the only way we can be against someone is if we dehumanize them, see them as evil or something else.
Yeah.
Thanks for highlighting that.
Oh, I love that. All right, Jen, 1 or 2 words from you, and then we'll close. And I see people are leaving, so please, if you need to drop off, please do, and we'll share the recording with you.
Yeah, I just really love the way that you kind of keep going. No, you know, we can all do this. You know, not being turning yourself into a guru of some kind.
Yeah.
And I really love that. It's so empowering, and I just really love, you know, really the method is presence, isn't it? And what does that even mean? It means that what we don't know, we don't know. We just sit there with a total openness, don't we? And so we can actually be with what actually comes instead of our idea of what's going to come. And so thank you so much. You're role modeling that for us. And I don't know, it's inspiring. We can join together in these ways.
Thank you. I really like what you said about the guru, because in India, we can have the guru complex. And I was telling my mom that I really don't want to come across like I'm some guru sitting and imparting knowledge.
Oh, thank you all so much. I know we're just about 2 minutes over time. I really want to appreciate everyone who joined, because I know Menaka and I were quite had such a strong intention to make this a really collaborative, in the spirit of convergent facilitation, a really collaborative, interactive session. I really felt so connected to all of you. So thank you. Thanks so much. Thanks, Menaka.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Ciao.